Hi everybody, thanks for coming back to the Sobriety Society International channel. This is Henry Abraham again. I'm your big brother in recovery. I just want to first mention and thank all of you who subscribed since we last talked, left comments, and you did push your like buttons. It lets me know that these videos that we're doing are adding value. That's our whole goal, is to add value to you. Because anyone can recover. Not only that, today's video, what I want to do is talk about the 3 most disempowering words in recovery, and I'll also tell you the 3 most empowering words in recovery. But first, before I do that, let's define the word empower. The word empower simply means to give someone the authority or power to do something. I like that definition, but there's one even better. Make someone stronger and more confident, especially in controlling their lives and their circumstances. You know, as we think about that, that's the purpose why I came to recovery. There are many pathways, as we discussed the last time, to recovery. But once you find your pathway, or what model or what approach fits your personal lifestyle, well, the goal then is to follow the simple, clear-cut directions and just do whatever is asked of you to do, and you will recover. One of the things that I've come to find out are the 3 most disempowering words in recovery are simply this: I got this. A lot of people either consciously or subconsciously think when they first come to recovery and they pursue abstinence, which is being clean, but they don't associate sobriety or serenity with being or achieving soundness of mind. See, you can be clean and never get sober, but you can't get sober or serene without getting clean. And the two are different. And some people have a tendency to just accept the mere fact that they're abstinent. I do understand that is a part of the process. We first must achieve some level of abstinence, because 1 is too many and 1,000 isn't enough. But we shouldn't, as the literature says, rest on our laurels with just being content being abstinent. As a matter of fact, the big book also talks about a man is unthinking if he even thinks sobriety is enough. So what I want to talk about is the most empowering, or the 3 most empowering words in recovery. We just talked about the 3 most disempowering words. I got this. But the 3 most empowering words that will transform your life is simply this: I need help. I remember when I was able to voice that, I didn't realize at the time that it had nothing to do with me being ashamed or being guilty, because just voicing those 3 words saved my life. I don't know about you. I have a tendency not to want to be around people who haven't or don't desire to be helped. Have you ever noticed help stays away from those that don't ask for it? Have you ever noticed help is so busy helping other people till it doesn't have time to waste time if you don't need it? Because there are too many people in our world who are not only hopeless, but helpless. I was there at one time too. But today's lesson, we want to dig a little deeper into our book. I'll give you a minute to get your book, but we're talking about today empowerment, right? The book says on page 132, we have recovered and have been empowered to help others. I've recovered. I'm not recovering, and I'm going to do a video on that. And I'm not saying that as a big I or little you. No, I'm not saying that. But guess what? I've been restored to sanity. I'm no longer insane. We've already defined, or you should know, Albert Einstein is notable for saying insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result. Today, I no longer live to use, nor do I use to live, but what I do now is I help others to overcome that problem. I want us to take a look in our book at the word purpose. You know, if you don't understand the purpose of a thing, you'll abuse the thing. In other words, drug abuse or alcohol abuse is simply the unnatural use for a substance or abnormal use. People who have a substance use disorder use substances abnormally, okay? You remember I told you in our first video, and if you didn't get it, go and watch it, the tools to recovery. One of the tools was the Big Book Dictionary, and one of the things we do on this channel is we stay away from giving our own opinion merely because opinions are like garbage cans. Everybody has one, and if you don't know by now, you will know. I'm not an entertainer, I'm an educator. I want you to look in your Big Book Dictionary and look under the word powerless. The word powerless is an interesting word because most people don't understand it. And how can I have recovered, having high power, and still be powerless? It doesn't make sense, but I'll show you what my point is in a minute. We're talking about purpose, but I'm going to talk about powerlessness. The definition for powerlessness is simply without power, defenseless, ineffective, lacking in strength, power, or authority. Well, that contradicts what we're trying to go after. We're trying to go after having the strength, the hope, and the courage to go on to live a life of sobriety, soundness of mind, right? So we can fulfill our purpose. Step one is real clear about it, but it's mostly quoted out of context. It didn't say you are, it says we were. We admitted we were powerless over our addiction and our lives had become unmanageable. So unmanageability is really the problem because I tried to play God and tried to manage my own life, and I found out two things in my fourth step. One, that it was too difficult to be God, and number two, obviously there was, and I wasn't him. So what I want to do right now is take a look at purpose as it pertains to the Big Book. I would like for you to go with me to our preface. Our preface says in the second paragraph, and this is interesting, because this book, meaning the Big Book, has become the basic text. Oh, that's an interesting word to underline because most fellowships stress or refer to their literature as the basic text, even though it is, because a textbook is nothing but a book to be studied, right? Not just merely read. Because this book has become the basic text for our society and has helped such large number of alcoholic men and women to recovery, there exists strong sentiment against any radical changes being made in it. In other words, it's authentic. It's untampered with, right? I want us to also take a look at purpose as it pertains to forward to the first edition. Let's look at the ultimate purpose of the book. Most people don't know what the purpose of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous is, I guess, and I'm not trying to be rude. I guess that's why we got so many different fellowships, and it's fine. It's fine. But we already found out on page 23 that drugs was not our problem, but our thinking was. So the problem is between your ears. You can't cop without thinking about it or drink without thinking about it. First paragraph on page Roman numeral 13, that's XIII. And it says, and I read, we of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have, here's an interesting word, recovered. Underline that, because I know some people out there don't believe that we ever do, and I'll do a video on that later. Recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. What's missing out of that? Spirit. Because spirit is the solution. Physical is the problem. Mind is where the problem lies, but the solution is spiritual. First step, physical. Second step, mental. That's why the word sanity is there. Return you back to what? Sanity. That's in your mind. So at some point in your life, you must have been sane. I remember the day I went insane. That was the day that I made this statement to myself. I can't wait till I get grown. I don't know why I just didn't enjoy just being a kid. And lately, when I got to recovery, I made this statement, and maybe you did too. I wish I knew then what I know now. So here's a question for you. Have you ever been comfortable being yourself? Just think about that for a minute. Recovery helps you find out who you are. Let's keep reading. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have, here's that word again, recovered, is the main purpose of this book. You notice that's an italicized print? And if you know anything about the book, at that time, the people who wrote the book paid extra money to get this in italicized print, and they mainly wanted to draw your attention to this main point. And notice what they say is what we read earlier. For them, meaning those of us who read the book, we hope these pages will prove so convincing that no further authentication will be necessary. If you look the word authentication up in your big book dictionary, it says no other book. Why? Because where did the first person in recovery recover? Let's go to the doctor's opinion. We're talking about purpose. I just want to glance across what purpose means as it pertains to this book. Notice the first paragraph in the doctor's opinion. We of Alcoholics Anonymous believe that the reader will be interested in the medical estimate of the plan of recovery described in this book. Convincing testimony must surely come from medical men who have had experience with the sufferings of our members and have witnessed our return to health. In other words, the doctor is giving us his opinion based upon his experience with helping men who suffered from the disease of alcoholism, which is simply a physical craving and a mental obsession, right? Okay, let's keep looking at what the word purpose means, or the purpose for this book. I'd like for you to go with me to page 19. And I want you to look at the third paragraph, talking about the purpose of the book. We have concluded to publish an anonymous volume setting forth the problem as we see it. We shall bring to the task our combined experience and knowledge. This is suggest a useful program for anyone concerned with a drinking problem. Wow, that's powerful, because some people, even I at one time, believed that experience was the only teacher. But it's not. I can get knowledge. Knowledge is information, and information will cause me not to experience something, And therefore, there are two types of knowledge. One, specialized. Two, general. This is specialized knowledge because it's talking specifically about the disease of addiction. Page 20, let's take a look at it. First paragraph. You may have already have asked yourself, why is it that all of us become so very ill from drinking? Doubtless you are curious to discover how and why. How is God's problem? Why is mine? In the face of expert opinion, that word goes again, to the contrary, we have recovered. No, don't say that word. Most people don't want to hear that. Recovered from a hopeless condition in mind and body. You notice spirit is not there, because a man is a threecotomy or a trichotomy comprised of a speaking spirit that lives in a body that has a mind. Right now, Abraham is talking to you, but the real Abraham is in here, and the only requirement for a person to live on this earth is to be in a body. But guess what? I have a soul, or the same word as mind. That's why the big book says that, guess what? The problem lies in the thinking, because whoever gets your thinking controls the rest of you. Let's keep reading. If you are an alcoholic who wants to get over it, you may already be asking, what do I have to do? Here's this word again. It is the purpose of this book to answer such questions specifically. We shall tell you what we have done. It's simple. They're telling us purpose. All I want to do in this video is show you why you can be taken from enslavement to empowerment, because if you're not working on recovery, you're working on relapse. It's no middle of the ground. But you need to know, before we dig deeper into the steps, the purpose of this thing. I want to keep going. Go with me to page 28. Page 28 of your book. And I want you to look at the next purpose of this for this book. At the bottom of the page, in the following chapter, there appears an explanation for alcoholism as we understand it. Then a chapter addressed to the agnostic. Many who once were in this class are now among our members. Surprisingly enough, we find such conviction no great obstacle to a spiritual experience. Further on, clear-cut directions are given showing how we recovered. It's the book. Don't argue with me. I didn't write it. I just followed it. These are followed by 42 personal experiences. Look at the bottom of the page. Our hope is that many alcoholic men and women desperately in need will see these pages. And we believe that it is only by fully disclosing ourselves and our problems that they will be persuaded to say, yes, I'm one of them too. I must have this thing. Have this thing what? I must have sobriety. Now, I want to close with this. I want to go to a statement that is, or a myth that is widely spread in the 12-step program, and that's that myth that I'm powerless. I don't know about your truth, but I'm not powerless today, and I'll show you why. Powerlessness is the problem. How can I have a higher power or relationship and still be powerless? That's something to think about. But I will tell you this, no relationship, no recovery. I never said religion. See, it's not about religion, it's about relationship. Religion is man's way of showing you how to worship God. Relationship is just merely you and God. Our book says it's better for you to meet God by yourself than to be introduced to him by someone who has never met him. Let's take a look at something. On page 45, to back up what I just said, I said that I am no longer powerless. And I want you to send your comments in, but before you do, I want you to read what I'm about to read. First paragraph, page 45. Lack of power, that was our dilemma. That word means problem. We had to find a power which we could live. Why? Because we've been surviving up to this point. And it had to be a power greater than ourselves. You mean to tell me your drug of choice, which is a resource, you relied on the resource and not on the source? Or you relied on the created and not the creator? Here's the million-dollar question that you've probably been asking like I did all my life prior to coming into the discovery of recovery. But where and how will we define this power? Because powerlessness is the problem. Well, talking about purpose, that's exactly what this book is about. Its main objective or purpose is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself, which will solve, underline this, your problem. What's your problem? Your thinking. That means we have written a book which we believe to be spiritual. That's the solution. As well as moral. That's the problem. My character. And it means, of course, that we're going to talk about God. You can keep reading the rest because it talks about, you love seeing these videos, but some of you may be grumbling because we're talking about God. And let's read that. Here, difficulty arises with agnostics. And the word agnostic, if you look it up in the Big Book Dictionary, it means the ignorant ones. Many times we talk to a new man and watch his hope rises as we discuss his alcoholic problem and explain our fellowship. Or he loves to talk about the traditions. but he's scared of them steps. If I live the steps or work the steps, I'll live the traditions. I'm not hiding behind the traditions. They are important. But I didn't come here to work the traditions. I came here to work the steps. But his face falls when we speak of spiritual matters, especially when we mention God. For we have reopened. That means you ran away from what you currently find yourself running back to. We have reopened a subject which our man thought he had neatly evaded or entirely ignored. And then it keeps to go on to talk about, we know how you feel because we felt the same way too. But guess what? No relationship, no recovery. I'm no longer powerless because guess what? Step 11 so eloquently puts it. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God. Praying only for the knowledge of what? His will, not mine, for me. Or his thinking for me. Why? Because my thinking got me in recovery, right? I thought I was God, but I found out there is only one God, and may you find him now. Half measures avail us what? Nothing. We stood at the turning point. What's the turning point? Either God is or he isn't. That's the bottom line. So therefore, what I had to do is surrender and turn everything over. When I did that, I surrendered my will, my thinking, step 3, and my actions for his thinking and his will. Step 11 again, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying, watch this, only. Go to your home group and look at step 11. It says only for the knowledge of his will, conjunction, and the power to carry it out. You know you need power to live in these cities. You need power to walk around wherever you're from because there's so many people that are walking around like I used to be, powerless, meaning not connected. Our big book talks about we're no longer disconnected, but we are now safe and protected. Why are we safe and protected? Merely because we are connected. Let me last show you this and I'll keep going. One thing I do want to talk to you about in closing is our preamble, or there is I believe it was crafted or written. If I'm wrong, I believe it was written for the 1965 AA International Convention in Toronto. And basically what it is our responsibility statement. And I want to read it for you real quick. It says, I'm responsible. When anyone anywhere reaches out for help, I want the hand of AA always to be there. And for that, I'm responsible. The word responsibility merely means the ability to respond. But if I'm powerless, I'm unresponsive. So when I have his power, guess what I can do? I can understand how he feels about the people who need help. If you remember when we first started this video, we talked about the 3 most disempowering words. And that's when you say to yourself, I got this. You know, the greatest con game in the world is self-deception. Have you ever wondered how that happens to you? I read in a book, it says the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. But how does he do that? Through thoughts, ideas, and suggestions. He'll make you think as you thinking it when really it's him. And no man can fight a thought from coming. But guess what? We don't have to act on the thought. I want to leave you with some empowering words of wisdom. And they're simply this. If you need help, don't be afraid to ask for it, because there are a lot of good people in the rooms in 12-step programs. And you know what? We know how you feel simply because we felt the same way too. That's why I'm doing this channel, simply because of one reason. I care. Why do I care? I've been there. And I wouldn't wish this on anybody. You can recover. I tell you what, I'll see you soon. I want you to subscribe to the channel, press the like, send it out to your friends, and please leave me a comment, whether you agree or you disagree. Okay? I'll talk to you soon. Bye.